So this is either the end of things, or things are about to get very, very weird. It's possible that things get weird and then they end, but one of those two things is definitely going to happen now. In a movie, in a well-written book about a political scandal, what just happened today, what was just published today, would be the end of the plot.
Hold it now.
Another day, another installment in the Russian election soap opera. This one, an unexpected plot twist. Earlier today, Donald Trump Jr. released an email exchange he had last summer with an English publicist named Ron Goldstone. Now, Goldstone had offered Trump a meeting with a Russian lawyer called Natalia Veselnitskaya. Pronounced that twice. He claimed she had incriminating information about Hillary Clinton's dealings with Russia. Now, Don Trump took the bait and met with Veselnitskaya some weeks later, though he complained later that she had nothing interesting to say during the meeting and instead just talked about Russian adoption law. Goldstone, meanwhile, emailed Trump Jr. to claim, without offering any evidence to support it, that the Russian government supported his father, Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Now, Don Trump released all those emails a little before noon today, and within minutes, the Congressional Treason Caucus swung into action to accuse Donald Trump Jr. of betraying his country.
This is CNN, home of fake news.
Donald Trump Jr. reportedly told in an email last year that the Russian government was trying to help his father's campaign.
He did indeed accept this meeting knowing that the Russian government was wanting to help his father's campaign.
And believing that this Russian attorney was in fact a Russian government attorney.
Without a doubt.
Whether she was or not, which is something she denies.
This is the first time we have the substance of the meeting, the impetus behind that meeting, what in fact was offered for the son of the president to take that meeting, and very explicitly in black and white. Again, we've quoted from those emails many times, but damaging information to Hillary Clinton from the Russian government with the intention of helping Donald Trump.
They're going a million miles an hour again. And hey, wait a minute. I've heard about all these things, but maybe this is something. I should hear them out. This was, again, just basic information that was going to be possibly there. I didn't know these guys well enough to understand that if this talent manager from Miss Universe, had this kind of thing. So I wanted to hear him out and play it out.
So what's your reaction to what he's explaining, that things were going so fast and he just was interested in getting some information, no real information, he later suggested, came from this meeting?
Well, no information had to come from this meeting for this email chain to be evidence of the Trump campaign's intent to collude with Russia.
Jr.'s first statement was, this was a meeting about adoptions. Well, adoptions, as we know and has been reported by the New York Times, is really just another word for sanctions. So if Donald Trump Jr. was going into a meeting with Russian cutouts to talk about sanctions at a time just before the Republican convention and the platform debate about Ukraine and sanctions and arming opponents, then that becomes a very problematic issue where, like with Manafort, rather like with Flynn, where they're discussing sanctions, that's potentially a crime in and of itself. With respect to the collusion aspect that David Gregory talked about, that's really a political question in some respects, because there isn't, except an antitrust law, a crime of collusion. It would have to be a conspiracy to do something, and I'm not sure what the something yet is.
So just let me follow your line of logic. You're saying it's inappropriate for the Democrats to meet with a foreign country, Ukraine, but it's not inappropriate for your campaign, for Donald Trump, to meet with the Russians.
What do you mean the Russians? Who did this woman work for at the time? Do you know?
Well, this is the question, Mr. Gorka. I mean, this is what investigators are obviously trying to. What is the answer? What is her connection to the Kremlin?
There was no connection. She was a private lawyer who had an interest with regards to the Russian adoption program and used a pretext to get a meeting with the campaign, which the campaign representatives almost immediately realized was not done in good faith, that she had another agenda.
That's right,
and
but
the
they
meeting
wanted,
ended.
what's funny, Mr. Gorka, is that they wanted the original agenda. They wanted the dirt.
Which is what political campaigns do, but we don't meet on the soil of foreign nations at their embassies to get opposition research. I mean, if you want to look at a real story, that's the story. Oh my gosh. If you want to look at a real story, the 126 leaks of national security importance in the first 125 days. I saw what you did yesterday with Kellyanne, 35 minutes on this one issue. Have you ever at CNN dedicated 35 minutes to the 126 leaks against this administration?
Well,
7 times the average of the leaks under the Obama administration, the Bush administration. Now that's a story worthy of CNN coverage.
We obviously cover lots of things along the spectrum, but I know that you do what Kellyanne, hold on, Mr. Gorka, 1 second, because you do what Kellyanne also does, which is try to deflect back to the Hillary Clinton campaign. I understand that tactic, but the question is that why then, if this was also on the up and up, did the president's son, Don Jr., not only not disclose it, but didn't actually use the right story when first asked about it? He claimed that the meeting was about adoption, but that wasn't what the real story was, and he's not alone. I mean, let me just pull up this graphic for you of the 7 people connected to the Trump campaign somehow: Michael Flynn, Jeff Sessions, Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, Don Jr., Carter Page, J.D. Gordon. None of them adequately disclosed their meetings with Russians until the press found out about it. What's going on?
Nothing. You heard their statements. You heard Don Jr.'s statements that told you everything you need to know. He's not even a member of the administration. I mean, this is the shocking thing. That, again, the amount of time you spend in desperation on a topic that has plummeted you to 13th place in viewership ranking across America. I mean, more people watch Nick at Night cartoons than CNN today.
Our ratings are doing just fine. I mean, if you want to go there,
13th.
Our ratings are doing just
13th.
fine. But what ratings represent is that people
11.
are interested in this. And our ratings
Nick at Night is 11.
that
More
Americans
people are interested
in this. Look, I'm
more
sure
people are interested in cartoons
I'm sure more
than
people
CNN.
are interested in watching House of Cards than whatever you're doing as well. However, our ratings are just fine, and the American people say that they're quite interested in what's going on with these Russian
Actually,
tribes.
that's not true. If you look at the polling, most people couldn't care less. More than 65% of Americans are not interested in Russia.
Shows landed from outer space. They gave off a funny green light. They said they traveled to our planet just to watch Nick at Night.
The issue is coercion. The issue is potential coercion exercised by a foreign power over people who are in very powerful jobs in the U.S. government right now.
We know Donald Trump Jr. confessed to at least trying to conspire with a Kremlin-linked lawyer 2 weeks into the presidential general election campaign in hopes of getting dirt on Hillary Clinton. But lost in the now standard maelstrom of our lives is the stunning reality that Donald Trump Sr. also all but confessed to trying to conspire with Vladimir Putin to clear the path by which the Russians can come back and attack our midterm elections next year and our presidential election in 2020. Mine are just interpretations, not legal opinions, but I'm right.
Hillary just bleached the emails. Maybe if you had done that, Greg, the media would have just said, okay, that's fine.
You know, the entire world, including the media, were looking for dirt on both candidates. If you look at Podesta's emails and you look at all those operatives, I don't think they were meeting with priests or rabbis. And the information that was offered implied donations to Hillary from Russia, which might be illegal. I'm sorry, but how could you not listen to that? Reporters are such hypocrites. They get the vapors over something like this.
Yeah.
They would have answered that email immediately and said, love it. If a Russian called Brian Stelter and said, we have information on Donald Trump, he'd climb on his big wheel and he'd pedal like the wind. You know, whoever turns, by the way, we're all hypocrites. Whoever turns down gossip about an enemy, no one ever does. And you don't even give a damn about the source. If somebody behind the deli counter says that they got stuff on somebody else from CNN or MSNBC, you are all ears. And by the way, this stuff is coming from the same place every single day. So forgive me if I don't get all crazy and panicked over this. Every single time a shoe is supposed to drop, and then that dies down and it goes away. Just as it's about to die down, the Times drops another shoe, and then you have Mad Out, CNN, and Morning Joke.
Let's make no mistake. One other thing, Mika. Don Jr. went into that meeting. Just let's strip it down. He went into that meeting,
according to Don Jr.,
expecting help from the Russian government.
Yeah.
Stop.
Stop. Full stop.
That's why the
stop. Stop.
Stop.
Full stop.
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 That's why the
stop.
Stop.
Well, what's your reaction then to this? Is it finally the smoking gun that everybody's been looking for, proving this collusion between Trump and Russia?
There's nothing there. I don't know how to make this any clearer. I'm a prosecutor, a former prosecutor, and a licensed lawyer by profession. I kind of know something about this. And I'm waiting for the punchline to this joke. In fact, what I tell people is, whenever you hear about this Trump collusion meeting, always ask the question, and? Because that's what you have to do. And Donald Trump Jr. met with this Russian, and she said, or he thought, maybe he would have some oppo research or opposition research. And it turns out that she didn't, but she wanted to talk about, apparently, adoption. And that's it. And no matter how you look at this, and I can't say this enough, in any light, from any angle, there is nothing that is even remotely almost against the law. Somebody said treasonous? There's nothing here. But let me tell you what is the saddest part. And I don't know if the mainstream media are just geniuses or if the American, consumer public of the mainstream media, dreck, have been brainwashed. But we have been told Russia, 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 Russia to such an extent that maybe by virtue of this repetition, there's been some kind of a cerebral connection made where people impute guilt whenever that word is meant. And I'm not kidding you. It's almost like a brainwashing. We went through months and months of the Russian hacking. Nothing ever materialized. They didn't give up. And then they switched. Now, let me also suggest something. And this may be a tad conspiratorial, but why not? When in Rome. Isn't it funny that nobody talked about this until President Trump had the G20 meeting and he and Vladimir Putin got along swimmingly?